Right now, somewhere in your kitchen, there is meat. In your refrigerator, wrapped in plastic, sitting on a shelf, you bought it without thinking. You will cook it without thinking. But the story of how that meat ended up in your hand, or in the hand of any human, is one of the strangest and most violent turning points in the history of life on Earth. It did not start with a hunt. It started with desperation. Go back 3 million years. Your ancestor is not standing upright with a spear. Your ancestor is small, cautious, and almost entirely plant-eating. Australopithecus, a creature shaped by millions of years of fruit, leaves, tubers, and seeds. The body is built for chewing fibrous vegetation. The teeth are broad and flat. The gut is long and slow, designed to extract every calorie from plant matter. Meat is not on the menu. Not yet. So what changed? The answer is not ambition. It is not intelligence. It is climate. Around 3 million years ago, the African continent began to dry out. Forests shrank, grasslands expanded. The lush, fruit-filled canopy that had fed your ancestors for millions of years started to disappear. Paleoanthropologist Richard Wrangham has spent decades tracing this dietary transition, and what he found is that early hominins did not choose meat. They were forced toward it. When the trees vanish, the fruit vanishes with them. When the fruit vanishes, something has to take its place. And on the open savanna, in the grass, surrounded by massive herds of grazing animals, the answer was right in front of them. But here's the part the history books usually skip. Your ancestors did not start by hunting. They started by stealing. Think about that for a moment. The first carnivores in your lineage were not apex predators. They were scavengers. They watched the lions kill. They watched the lions eat. And then, when the lions were done or distracted, they moved in. Archaeologist Manuel Dominguez Rodrigo has found stone tool cut marks on bones at sites in Ethiopia dating back 3.4 million years. Cut marks that sit on top of carnivore tooth marks. That sequence matters. The animal was killed by a predator. Then your ancestor came in after and scraped whatever was left. Scraps. That is where your carnivore lineage began. On the margins of someone else's kill in the blazing African heat, cutting meat off bones with sharp rocks while watching over your shoulder for predators to return. It sounds humiliating, but it was transformative. Because that meat, and even the scraps, was doing something extraordinary to the human body. Meat is calorie-dense in a way that plants simply are not. A piece of flesh delivers fat, protein, and energy in a package your digestive system can process quickly. Compared to a full day of chewing leaves and roots, a few pounds of scavenged meat was a biological shortcut. The body could extract enormous energy from a relatively small amount of food. And that surplus energy had somewhere to go. It went to the brain. This is the part that should stop you. Anthropologist Leslie Aiello and biologist Peter Wheeler proposed what they called the expensive tissue hypothesis, the idea that the human brain and the human gut are locked in a kind of evolutionary trade-off. Both organs are metabolically expensive. Both demand enormous energy to maintain. And when early hominins started eating more meat, something remarkable happened. The gut, no longer required to slowly ferment massive amounts of plant matter, began to shrink. As the gut got smaller, the freed-up energy went somewhere else. It went upward, into the skull, into the expanding human brain. In other words, every time your ancestor dragged a scavenged leg bone away from a lion's kill and smashed it open with a rock to eat the marrow inside, your ancestor was feeding the brain that would eventually make you capable of reading these words. The transition from scavenger to hunter did not happen overnight. It took hundreds of thousands of years. And it required a piece of technology so simple that you might walk past it without looking twice. Stone tools. The Old-awan tool tradition, named after the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, where archaeologist Mary Leakey uncovered some of the earliest examples, dates back roughly 2.6 million years. These were not sophisticated weapons. They were crude, sharp flakes of rock, struck off a larger stone with deliberate force. But they were enough to process meat. They were enough to crack bone. They were enough to change everything. With a sharp stone, an early hominin could do something no other animal on the savanna could do efficiently. It could strip a carcass in minutes. It could access the fat-rich marrow inside the bone. It could break through the thick hide that even some scavengers could not penetrate. The stone tool was not a hunting weapon. It was a processing tool, a butchery tool. It turned a carcass, even one already picked over by lions and hyenas, into a usable food source. Gradually, over hundreds of thousands of years, the relationship with meat deepened. By the time Homo erectus appears in the fossil record, around 1.9 million years ago, the picture has shifted dramatically. The body is taller, the legs are longer, the arms have shortened. This is no longer the body of a creature built to climb trees and hang in canopies. This is a body built for distance, for running, for the pursuit. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has made a compelling case that Homo erectus was capable of persistence hunting, a technique so simple and so devastating that it borders on unfair. You do not run faster than your prey. You cannot. A zebra, a wildebeest, an antelope, any of them can outrun a human in a sprint. But none of them can run indefinitely without overheating. Animals cool themselves by panting. Panting requires stopping. Humans, uniquely equipped with millions of sweat glands and almost no body hair, can cool themselves while running. You can run and sweat at the same time. No other pursuit predator can do this as effectively. So you follow the animal, you push it, you do not catch it in the first mile, or the fifth mile, or the 10th mile. But somewhere around mile 12 in the midday heat, the animal's muscles begin to seize. Its core temperature rises past the point of function. It stumbles, it slows, and you walk up to it, out of breath but not broken, and you make the kill. This was not a moment of savagery. It was a moment of pure biomechanical dominance. Your sweat glands beat their sprint speed. Your upright posture, which keeps more of your body out of direct sunlight, reduced heat absorption. Your long legs and Achilles tendons stored and released elastic energy with every stride. You were built over millions of years to run animals to death. And with that capability, the diet shifted again. No longer entirely reliant on scavenging, no longer waiting for another predator to do the killing. Now hunting with intent, with strategy, with coordinated group behavior that required the kind of social communication that only a growing brain could support. The brain and the meat fed each other. More meat grew the brain. The bigger brain enabled better hunting. Better hunting meant more meat. The loop tightened over millennia until you arrived, a creature so thoroughly shaped by carnivory that traces of it are written into your biology in ways you probably never think about. Your eyes face forward, both of them, not to the sides like a deer or a rabbit built to watch for predators. Forward-facing eyes give you precise depth perception. They help you judge distance. They are the eyes of a hunter, not of prey. Your hands can grip and throw with extraordinary precision. No other primate throws with the speed and accuracy of a human. That arm, that shoulder joint, that elbow, that wrist, was refined, Lieberman argues, specifically for throwing projectiles at moving targets. Your teeth, flat and weak compared to true carnivores, tell the story of the compromise. You never became a pure meat eater. You became something stranger, an omnivore with a carnivore's brain and a generalist's gut, capable of surviving on almost anything but most efficiently fueled by animal fat and protein. This is not an argument about what you should eat today. That is a different and complicated question shaped by agriculture, ethics, ecology, and 10,000 years of history that has nothing to do with the savannah. This is about what happened, about how the shift occurred, about the chain of events, a drying climate, a shrinking forest, a stolen scrap of meat, a sharp rock, a long run in the midday heat that led from a small fruit-eating primate to the creature sitting wherever you are sitting right now. Tonight, when you sit down to eat, you will probably not think about any of this. The meat on your plate will just be dinner, ordinary, unremarkable, something you chose because it sounded good. But somewhere inside the body doing the chewing, inside the forward-facing eyes, the throwing shoulder, the brain burning through glucose at a rate no other animal can match, the answer is still running, still following, still chasing something across a hot, open plain that no longer exists. It is all still there, you just stopped noticing it.